Ndinoda kuti nyika iziwe vanhu vangu inguva yedu hatingatadzi kubudirira Mwari ari parutivi pedu rambai muchirwa My hitters gon' die, the real hitters gon' shine and my people gon' rise Cause we're born to win, yeah, I ain't saying this but I'm saying
Loyalty's my favorite characteristic of God, but finding it in it is hard. It's like trying to find God. You're the only one in your camp with cheese. You pay for everything they eat. Man, that insecurity is deep. Now I ain't said no names. These are just theories. If you hear me, baby, it's home. You must admit it's kinda eerie, baby. Like them chemtrails in the sky. Hate the selling the slaves, kinda like the combines. We say everything in moderation, but don't do it in moderation. The lies of a gluttonous generation. 10-year-old girl.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Trae Holiday, once again, sharing with you my top 5 moments of season 1 from The Day with Trae. In at number 5 is a great way to wrap up a great way. I think I said right. It's a great way to wrap up these amazing moments from the season. And honestly, it was so hard to choose 5 because I wanted to choose them all. I'm so appreciative of everyone who has come on The Day with Trae, brought their brilliance, their talent, their skill, their community work, their inspiration right here to this platform and to my living room set. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here because without you, I would have no show. And so I'm so grateful to everyone. And coming in for me to wrap up these top favorite moments of season 1, I got to give it up to the time I got to do a real deep conversation with Mr. Ronald Chisom. That's right. Baba Ron is such an amazing organizer and mentor to so many with the People's Institute and their Undoing Institutionalized Racism training that they have taken all over the world. He has inspired so many to really identify how they are organizers in their own right and how they can undo institutionalized racism within their institutions, on the job, in their organizations, in their community, in their daily lives. I was so moved by how much he shared with me on camera and off camera because he let me know that the work we're doing here at Converge Media is organizing work, whether we know it or not. And it was so amazing to hear all of the ways that he has historically been bringing this information out to the public, but also how he shared his personal story with me. So wrapping it up, y'all, I got to give it up to Baba Ron and this episode. Take a look. You guys, let's welcome Baba Ron Chisom. Hi.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm so great. It's so great to have you with me today.
It's good to be here. I'm excited too, and by the way, congratulations on that great acknowledgement your organization got deservingly, and not only should the local area know about it, but people around the country ought to know about it. So I'm excited to be in the presence of you all, knowing the kind of work and being in the studio right now, and it's good. It's a good feeling. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're so glad that you took time out of your busy schedule. I know you're in and out this time, so we had to make it happen. But, for me, I was able to really experience you and your legacy, the work that you do in a training myself, Undoing Institutionalized Racism. Let's go to the beginning. Tell us a bit about you before you even started that organization, before you said this is the work we have to do. Tell us a bit about you growing up that kind of got you to say, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to give to my people.
Well, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been in New Orleans all of my life, at least 81 years, give or take a year. It could be longer, but I know I've been there for 81 years. And if you've been in New Orleans, I work in an area in New Orleans, one of the oldest Black neighborhoods in the United States. It's called Treme, Treme. And it's right adjacent to the French Quarters. Everybody knows the French Quarters, but they don't know the Treme community as well. But everybody should know that some of the greatest musicians in the world, like Louis Armstrong and Wynton Marsalis family, and so many great musicians come out of this particular community. Well, I did a lot of my community work there. But as I said, I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I've traveled around Louisiana, and my family's from there. And, as I was going through school and I got, I never did go to college, but I went to high school, and I saw a lot of things that didn't seem right for us, discrimination. And I didn't understand it all, but I saw a lot of things going on. But I guess like most young people, you go to school, you get a job. And then I got a job working at a medical school called LSU Medical School. I was doing custodial work and worked my way up through civil service to become as a medical research technician. Again, didn't have the academic background, but had a lot of experience. And I saw so much discrimination and stuff going on, but I just kept moving to the point, I guess was getting disgusted with it. And then eventually I left this job and went to start to do community work in that particular Trae community. And that particular Trae community, as I say, it's a great cultural roots there. And there was recently an HBO series where they talk about the culture of New Orleans and Katrina. And I was fortunate to be in one of those HBO series where, and Wendell Pierce, who's a great known actor, he lives in New Orleans, and he played a big role in making that HBO series happen. It went on for several years. And I learned so much from that. I learned a lot about New Orleans. Even though I lived there, you learn a lot about it. Then again, and when Katrina hit, I lost everything in Katrina. I lost my mother in Katrina. Mm-hmm. And because of the reaction she got from losing everything, I went to Houston for 3 years. And after that, I didn't want to come home, but I love New Orleans. But eventually, I decided to come back home. My wife wanted to come back to New Orleans. And, but I lost so much there. But I began to adjust, but I'm still having mental challenges from it. And I saw the blatant discrimination. And many times right now, when I see people, they say, "Oh, did Katrina give you mental challenges?" I say, "Yeah, it wasn't Katrina. It was a racism before Katrina." Mm. So Katrina just added on to my mental stress. But as I began to learn and live and work, I decided I wanted to do something much different. And I started a community-based organization in this particular community called Trae. And I work with another young man who's transitioned, Jim Hayes, and him and I started something called the Trae Community Improvement Association. And that's where I got a lot of my learning from. I learned how to organize. I didn't really understand organizing, but I would get people together to try to make a difference, to deal with some of the injustice. And as I began to do that work, still never started no institute. I didn't know anything about training about it. I just thought you got to have love in your heart to make a difference. But then I realized you can have love, but you got to also know how to do your job. Love is not enough to be effective in real social change work. So I began to work primarily with an all-Black community, organize this community to deal with the injustice. And I used to take maybe 30 or 40 brothers and sisters downtown. We'd go fight the government and fight city council and the mayors, and we would win some victories and we'd lose some. What I know what I really learned that over the years, every time we go fight someone within the Black community or for the Black community, we wound up fighting each other. Mm. And I didn't understand that. That went on for several years. And so what I realized, well, maybe I need to get some learning. Maybe since I'm doing the organizing, and I really didn't understand organizing, but I knew I was doing something to make a difference. I went and got training by a man named Saul Alinsky. And Saul Alinsky is like the grandfather of community organizing. And what he taught me, I went to Chicago, spent 2 weeks, a place called Midwest Academy. And he taught me how to be an effective organizer. And he gave me great skills and tools. And I went back to, it showed me how to deal with group dynamics, tactical research, and it helped me very much. But as I went to apply these great skills with the organization I've been working with, that I realized skills are important in dealing with social change. But if you give somebody some skills and they have not dealt with their racism, they can become a skillful racist. Mm. And then that got me concerned. So I realized skills alone is not going to make the kinds of equitable change and not going to help me deal with that internal problem that goes on within our communities. I still don't understand it. That's when I finally met a brother named Dr. Jim down another Jim. Him and I met in New York City, trying to get some money for our local organizations. And then Jim Dunn and I, in 1979, went to an international conference, but it really was in Philadelphia, where Black leaders from around the world came together. And we took a train ride from New York to Philly to this gathering. And on that train ride in the late 70s, we decided to start our organization called the People's Institute for Survival. I'm giving you a long history because it's important how we got started. And so we started this organization and we met and we developed a curriculum. But as we were developing this curriculum, the name hit me. I said, why are we calling it the People's Institute for Survival? Because when I meet a brother or sister in the street and I say, what's going on, my brother? I said, man, I'm trying to survive. I realized that name has to change because I didn't want to develop a name of an institution, of an organization where it talks about survival and people are already talking about just surviving. I need to get people to have a name that's going to think much deeper than surviving. So we changed it from the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. So if they're going to internalize something, it'll be a beyond piece. So that's when we started in 1980, called the People's Institute. And the reason for that, normally I wouldn't have started along with Dr. Jim Dunn, no training institute, but I realized in my community, we didn't understand racism. And I thought as a Black man, I knew all about racism. I knew discrimination, I knew bigotry, I knew police killings, but I did not have a systemic analysis. And you're not going to deal with systemic racism unless you can define a system, unless you can define racism. And even in the Black community, as much as we talk about racism, we do not have a clear definition of it. And that's what made us start the People's Institute.
What a powerful beginning, honestly. And I think for so many people who actually go through Undoing Institutionalized Racism training that you all offer, that right there is one of the biggest takeaways, is understanding what racism is. You know, as you're in this group and in this room of folks that are of like mind and, you know, similar experiences, we're all coming together to understand it more in a deeper way. So I appreciate that you say that, because oftentimes because we experience something, we think we know all the facets of it.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
But that's not the case. And so you guys developed this training, oh my goodness, in the 80s. And you really have been taking it all over the world. Tell us a bit about how the growth of the training has really been embedded now in so many communities across America.
Because the training is really about how to strengthen your community, how to strengthen all communities, but primarily the Black community. That's the main reason I did, because when I started with the training, if you remember, as I said, gave you the history, that's why history is so important, that every time I would try to organize in the Black community, we'd have these internal fightings. See, the key about racism, which I didn't understand at the time, which I thought I knew, I was talking about my experiences. And my experience is not the same as a definition. And we do this in South Africa, we do it in Soweto, Johannesburg, we do it in Puerto Rico, we do it in Harlem, we do some of the largest Black congregations. And you ask people to define racism, they'll tell you their experiences. And the experiences are real. But that's not going to deal with systemic racism, and systems want us to be confused. That's why the data shows right now in the Black community, we're still at the bottom, white folks sit at the top, and every group goes up and down the ladder, wherever they can fit in. That goes on. But the key for me is that racism not only creates injustice, that's why we respond to in all of our groups. We try to deal with the injustice. There's a lot of injustice in the media. You know, that's why you got to have a Black media. You know, because, you know, the media been racist all their life, and they put some Black folks on these anchors as tokenism, but you need somebody grounded like your group that's grounded, that you're doing all the work. You know, you editor the work, you're doing professional work, but you're doing it at a humanistic level. You know, you're doing anti-racist work.
Wow.
I don't know if you say that, you know, we're just doing Black work. No, you're doing anti-racist work. You're going against systems that want you to be the token, but you all refuse to do that. So to me, you're doing undoing racism, because you got to undo before you do anti. And I believe just the bit that I know about you all, and I've already seen some of your work, and not only you can see the work, you can feel the work. You can feel humanity. Racism dehumanizes. Undoing racism brings humanity back. People hear undoing racism, hear anti-racist work. This is just as something. Racism takes away your humanity. So you do anti-racist to bring humanity back into your work. And now we've been millions of people have been through this training, but the primary reason is that we want the people to become effective anti-racist organizers. And I don't know if y'all see yourselves in this work, but y'all are organizers. You're organized in the media. You're developing leadership. You're bringing humanity to the work. To me, that's what anti-racist organizing about. And what I feel good about in the growth is that I realize it ain't about me. And what I like right now, I've been with it from one of the co-founders. And there's something, if I transition, we've developed an approach where we don't have a dependency model. We have an interdependency model. Because a lot of organizations, when the leadership die, everything else die. When that little funny grant that we always get, that we jump to, we like puppets trying to get them grants. When that goes and you lose your infrastructure, everything collapses. That's a dependency model. That ain't a healthy model. So we're saying if something happens to any one of us, or something happens within the Black media, that y'all have developed it in a way that it will continue because it ain't dependent on one individual. That's what I wanted to see happen. And right now I know that will happen. I'm excited about it. And it's not just about me. It's about the local work going on. We develop a network that's working. It's got, they got some holes in it every night in your net. But the more you do good organizing, you can tighten that net up to be a really solid net to get our people. So I'm encouraging. I see people growing. And to me, it's about organizing. The only reason I do Undoing Racism, because I don't care what movement it is for change, whether it's the women's movement, the populist movement, the civil rights movement, the labor movement, any movement, racism has gotten away. So if you got a movement, even in the media, racism got to be addressed because it will take you somewhere you don't want to go. That's why we deal with it. We don't deal with it just because it's something to deal with. Because right now, there are people that have taken our stuff and have exploited it. It took us 40 some years, but you can't do what we do with it because it is grounded with people, and that's the most significant. But it ain't no one or two leaders. Yeah, it's about a network of people, and when you can see the results of your work in different cities, and even in this city, we've done more work in Seattle than we're in the country. Wow. Matter of fact, I walk in Seattle. Being from New Orleans, I walk sometimes, people wave at me like I live here. And to me, that's an honor to feel really good about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was going to say, is that there's such deep roots here for Seattle and the work of Undoing Institutionalized Racism and the People's Institute. I know ambassadors of your work that are brilliant in community. I'm getting a little emotional because this work is so serious and you've dedicated so much of your brilliance to it. I cannot thank you enough because it is so necessary. When we think about some of the signs that people had in the 50s during the civil rights era in terms of picketing, and we can still say those truths exist to this day, we could have the same signs up. We had stop police brutality back then. We're saying the same thing now, right? I was organizing in the wake of George Floyd. I've been organizing for some time, even before that. But that Seattle really showed up, and we stayed in the streets for months, the longest out of any other city in America. And I realized that we had so much energy put toward really what can we do to make change. And one of the things that somebody just said it, it's like that movement happened and that was back then, money flooded into Black-led organizations and organizing, there was a lot of white guilt, a lot of people saying, we should do better. There was a lot of folks who also were awakened by the murder of George Floyd. They're like, okay, whoa, this maybe it's been happening all these years and all around me, but as a non-Black person, I didn't understand it. So I had a lot of those kind of conversations with non-Black people where it was an awakening moment. I mean, what do we do now in terms of carrying it forward from your perspective? Because it does seem like some of that energy has faltered a bit, and yet we're still dealing with very same conditions that we were talking about eradicating then. And it's something that you guys have really been doing this entire time through all the trainings. I mean, tell people what they do.
I would just say, as an organizer, I got to bring hope.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do organizing and hopeless.
Yeah.
I got to bring hope to people. And as one said, the Undoing Racism is for everybody, not just for Black folks, for white, Latino, Asian. People all over the world come to our training. But we tell white people, it's important that you understand as a white person, for you to be effective and understand what equity means, you got to do some work within your own white community, because they're not saving their white children. Mm. People like the Proud Boys are educating them. And I travel around this country, and there's nobody working with young white kids to understand racism. And I tell you, a lot of young white activists who come to our workshop who have told me, and they come to the Undoing Racism training, I say, well, we want you to get your family involved. Well, my mom and daddy are racist, so I left home. And we say, well, how you left your mom and daddy? Because they're racist. I say, well, anytime you throw any human being away, then you don't know what it means to be a human being. Mm. How can you throw another human being away? I say, and the reason why you ran away from your mom and daddy, not only because they were racist, but your mom and daddy was a better organizer than you. And they have to look at that, say, but you have a responsibility to educate your family, because you can't work in communities of color and not work, because the way you remember, as a white person, you get a privilege, but part of getting that privilege, you've been racialized, you've been dehumanized. So you don't realize you've been dehumanized, and you come around, and we have to be, and as Black folks, we have to be very careful when we work with white people, and we should work with everybody. But because white people don't get life from their privilege, they get stuff from their privilege. But if you're not careful, they'll get life from you as a Black person. You will know they're taking your life from you, because we think we can handle white people. But they still got more power because they got a different relationship with those white systems. So we're saying we got to work with everybody. But if for white people to get in touch with their humanity, so I want to make that real clear. We work with everybody. Mm. But white people got to be challenged in a very serious way, because we protect white. One of our sicknesses, and that's a point I want to stress. The reason why I started the training with Jim Dunn is because racism has created a pathology in us, internalized oppression, and it plays out in many ways for people of color. One of the things, the way it plays out, we protect white people. We can talk about them, but we protect them too. Colorism is another one, the light skin and dark skin. That's an issue that goes on in our families. It have kept us divided. Another one is something called exaggerated visibility. As Black people, we've been invisibilized, so we got to exaggerate our visibility. I don't care if you're a professional or just out in the streets. There's ethnocentrism. All these manifestations is our pathology. So I don't care if you work in the media, you work in housing, I don't care what issue you work on. If that issue you work on does not get that toxicity out of you, then you just have another program, got another grant, and all it's going to do is further program you, because any program you develop with money is supposed to wake our community up. And if it doesn't, you're adding to the putting us back to sleep. Secondly is that when you came to the workshop, we didn't give you nothing just a trait that you have not lived all your life. All we did what we call a Socratic approach. We pull out your experience that you live, and when it ain't right, you're going to let us know. It's like you shaking your head now. Mm-hmm. When you come to the workshop, you're trying to see what we're going to do. And when you hear it, your head shaking like this, because you know what we're talking about. We just been able to take your experience and put it in chronological order. That's all we've been doing. Now, a lot of times for Black folks, it takes us longer to shake our head because the dominant white culture is in our neck. So that's why it takes 3 days to get that shit out of you. Yes. That's why it's a process. And we don't know it. We got Black people feeling off, shaking their head like this in a workshop. We know that, and they don't know what's going on, but the dominant white culture ain't got to be in your group. It already dictates what we do. You can have a Black group, but still dictate a white agenda. And we're very clear on that. So that's what we try to do in the workshop. That's part of bringing the humanity back, right now. And we want people to become good, effective organizers, and when they got to understand something about grants. Everybody got more nonprofits in this town anyway. Well, I think I just left Minneapolis 2 weeks ago, where the George Floyd Square. We've been working there for over 30 some years. And the community came together and told the county, the government, that what we want y'all to do is to make sure that the city develops a contract to train the neighborhood organizations in here. That was a demand from the community because of the killing of George Floyd. So now we're going up there, we're going to spend a year work with neighborhood organization in that particular area where George Floyd was killed at. And we're excited about that. We also want to work with some young Black men up there who've been incarcerated, because many Black groups led are getting money, but you ain't got no solid Black men united front. But other group, because everybody say being led by a Black group, you have to look at that very seriously, because you can have one or two Black folks, but it's not who run a nonprofit, but it ain't really a community organization. It says that, but it's really a cliquism going on. And not only that, when you run a nonprofit, if you listen to the history of it, 1954 when it started, when government and foundations came together, because there was such good organizing going on, they say we got to slow that roll up. Let's give them a 501c3, and all the activists got deactivated over the period of time, and that's happening right now. And we don't even see that going on, because once you get that nonprofit, and everybody wants some money, everybody wants to get the grant, and the white groups that get the grants, it's a shame we got to go through all that process to getting grant money, which is our money. We got to put a proposal together, and then they want to know if they give you the money, they want to evaluate. How they can evaluate you? Don't even know the value of you. So we have a real difficult time. Most of our money is fee for service. Not that we wouldn't take grant money, could we better understand it. But anybody getting grant money and who don't understand racism, high probably they're being manipulated. I don't care if they're Black run or this run or whatever run. That's just what it is. Because because most nonprofit ain't got no strong community constituency. They got a nonprofit, and all they're doing is keeping money to keep the infrastructure going, not to do the work in the community. An organization is only a vehicle to get your work done. You ain't supposed to be there for life. That's what it is. And that's to develop people and wake them up. And when you mess up, they keep you in check. Wow. That's the purpose of the Undoing. But people here Undoing Racism, it's about organizing in a humanistic way and really making sure you lift your community up and wake them up. If your program don't do that, then you further programming people. That's how we look at it.
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is, we're going to continue this amazing discussion after this short break. Of course, we are going a little bit longer today because I am allowing all of this brilliance to hit all of us. You guys don't want to miss the second part of this amazing discussion. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Did it again. Another year at Seattle's iconic Paramount Theater is in the books. A true experience that would live with us forever. We want to say thank you to all of our amazing guests for taking the time to join us, share your stories, and be vulnerable. We want to say thank you, our amazing fans and supporters who joined us live in the theater and watched the broadcast online. A huge thank you to the Seattle Theater Group for your years of partnership that continue to grow stronger and your intentionality to uplift Black voices in our community. And last but absolutely not least, thank you to Converge Media's official production partner from day one, the Elite Collective, whose team of producers, directors, and camera operators once again created TV magic. Until next time, keep it locked right here to Converge Media as we continue to uplift Black voices in our community and beyond. If you have an event coming up, tap in with the Elite Collective for all of your event production needs. And of course, always remember, Black media matters.
COVID-19 hurt my income, my health, and my family. We were about to lose our home when we heard we might be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. We called 1-877-894-HOME and a housing counselor stepped in, talked to our lender, and saved our home. Federal funding details at washingtonhaf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and I am sitting with the incomparable Baba Ron. Oh, my goodness. This has been such an amazing discussion. I really appreciate you for bringing that into the work that we're doing here at Converge, because I think, for us, we're like, look, we got to uplift stories, but to understand us as organizers and waking people up. For me, my entire goal of doing this line of work is to create impact media that does just that. And every day I encourage people to be inspired by my guests so they can see themselves as a part of the solution. The more of us that are pouring into that, the more we're actually creating the world we want to see and doing that work collectively of the awakening. So I just really appreciate you for seeing it as that. And it means the world coming from you who have dedicated your entire life to this work. When you think about some of those highlights, as you talk about being international and people, coming and connecting with People's Institute for this work, tell us about some of those major highlights for you throughout your line of this work, doing it for so many years and being in so many different places. You're hitting a lot of different people and a lot of different perspectives. And I can only imagine that waking up piece, you guys have probably heard so many testimonials from people who have had that experience. Tell us a bit about that.
We've met with young people. We went to Soweto, and we do the training out there in Soweto, and it relates the same way. I mean, they can relate to it. And I thought it was going to be a language dynamics. I went, but they can connect with it. Here's the key. What I believe is that what I've learned, and I'm always learning. I'm up in the age where I keep learning that every organization that I've worked with, and I come out the nonprofit world, so I've seen it, and we're a nonprofit too. Everybody always talk about empowering people. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't empower someone if you have not done a power analysis. Most organizations operate out of a needs analysis, a victim analysis, a do-good analysis, a paternalistic analysis, or something called a white man's burden analysis, which means we got to take in them folks because they really can't take it themselves. So when you're talking about empowering people, we really got to understand what empowerment means. People have needs because of the power. So most programs are geared to fix people's behavior. That's just, but yet when you look at their mission statement, we're going to empower the community. Well, first of all, you can't do that. You can help the community get a sense of its power because the community is already powerful, but because of years of oppression, it looks powerless. So when you work on an issue, I don't care if it's the media, housing, health, the issue is supposed to help people get a sense of their power. And you get a sense of your power through a process. It's a process. You don't walk with somebody, I empower you. That don't work like that. You help somebody go through steps because it took years to disempower us. So most people, most nonprofits, they all got that statement on their mission, but they're operating out of a needs analysis. And the power creates a need. So because if you're only working on programs to fix people, you're saying that people are broke. But the people ain't broke, the system is broke. But ain't nobody got no program to fix the system. Matter of fact, you better not do that. They ain't gonna let you fix them.
Right.
But if we keep spending every program to fix the people, what you're doing, you're fixing people's behavior. And what you're saying, you're telling the people something wrong with you. And nothing wrong with our community, they just got a need. Mm. And because what the white dominant culture has done, it don't only create, because every system in the United States, everyone is controlled by the dominant culture, everyone. And in the United States, every system is controlled by the white dominant culture, period. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you find and what the dominant culture has done It has created a pathology. It is told inside the black woman, the black woman having a baby, the system treat the black mother in a respectful way from health, from every level, and the baby inside can feel the disrespect to the mama. I can't tell you the chemicals and all that, but because of generation and generation, how black women have been treated and women of color been treated. And when the child comes here on this world, the system already started setting them up as being inferior. And that's why we have to really, really be careful when we write grants and using the word. I work with minorities at risk, and I'm working with the marginalized. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can create your reality. So if you keep calling somebody, you're the minority media, that means you're less than media. So linguistic racism helps to keep systemic racism in place. What keeps structures in place, system in place, is different forms of racism: linguistic, environmental racism, cultural racism, institutional racism, all these forms of racism. And we don't know we're doing it. We're trying to play with words, but words can kill us. So when a black mother has a child, the mother is being disrespected, the baby is disrespected, and then all these things play out. And then for a white person, inside them baby, mama, inside the mother womb, a white child, mother's treated family much better. When that baby come out, they already think that they're better. They're feeling superior. And they'll tell you right now, they'll say, I might be poor, at least I'm not black. That's why you don't see that kind of, that's why it's more than class. So I just think that I've seen people grow, develop. I meet people in the street all the time. They walk with me and say, Brother Chisom, I just went to the Undoing Racism training. You ought to go check it out. So when I hear that, I know it's out there. And whether we got an office, an organization or not, the work gonna get carried on, because organizations are structures only a place to get your work done. It ain't got to be there for life. If you're doing good leadership development, it's a beautiful thing, And so the community gives me hope. And I see people right now, they're aware. I see families. I see a lot of good things going on in different cities like Seattle, like New York. New York was one of the hardest places to bring this training in New York, because a lot of people think they know everything in New York, and I'm generalizing that. But now we do more work in New York anyway. I mean, from Albany to Harlem to the Bronx, work at Columbia University, Fordham. Work with nonprofits, work with church groups. We're doing work in the George Floyd area, which we honored to do that right now. And for the community to make a demand that they want us to train the people there. Now we've got a contract to work with there. We just so honored to be able to spend time, but this work is for everybody, and young people got to be integrally involved, not tokening. They got to be involved every step of the way. And we have young trainers right now can facilitate a whole workshop. We have white trainers, Black, Latino, Asian, Native American. We got folks from Spokane. We got Native Americans, from Anishinaabe, from Whitewood Reservation. We got all kinds of people right now, and who are organizers. And I want to make you say this is about organizing, and you bring hope. And to me, when y'all do this work, when y'all say Black media matters, and you talk to people who are listening or are seeing it, I think you're getting people in touch. The way you present, you're getting people in touch with their humanity, because the people that are listening have been dehumanized too. So if the information you put in their head gives them kick their humanity in, that's see, remember, racism dehumanizes. So you're not just giving a word out there. You're not just communicating. You're waking up, and when you say wake somebody up, you're bringing humanity in the people who are looking, who have been dehumanized. Racism dehumanize everybody. So that's what's key about it, why people embrace it. That's why people embrace it. Even people who give you the doggone award, they felt it because some of their humanity kicked in. With this actor who did this thing, I don't know if you remember the actor that came to our training. He's playing a thing called a Joker.
Yeah.
Well, he came to the workshop.
Wow.
And when he got his Emmy, he told the folks about, he got one in London, and he got one here. And he told them about systemic racism, and he'd been to the training. And he spoke so strongly about what the training has done for him. We've done work with the Whole Food Company. Whole Food got a healthy food, not necessarily a healthy mind. Worked with them for 3 years. And then Amazon took over, and we haven't heard from them yet. So I just think the work that you're doing, Sister Trae, is you're bringing humanity back to people. So it's not just in listening, viewing your work and they like your good technical work. You're bringing humanity to your technology. And because when I look at that screen this morning, I know, brother, I really didn't know the brother. I've heard of the brother. I could feel it. And the way those I didn't know who did what, but what I saw in there, man, I didn't know, totally what I was coming to, but I could feel it through the screen.
Yeah.
Not only people are crying in an audience, but I'm saying there's something about, and you really got to examine that, and everybody on your team got to know what that means. Y'all bringing humanity by way of the media. We're black. It ain't just black. You're bringing an anti-racist approach, which means you're bringing humanity, and people listening can feel it. That's the difference, I believe, than just saying a black thing. Everybody using those terms for all the right reasons.
Wow. Baba Ron, I thank you so much. This has just been the most enlightening discussion and interview for me. It's so powerful to really connect with you and your legacy, what you've done, what you continue to do out here across the world. Thank you for giving to all of us. Yeah.
I'm so excited to be on it. I wasn't sure where I was coming.
Oh, there you
I
go.
wasn't sure where I was. Brother Kent and Nicole would tell me I was coming, and but to be here, it feels good. And when you feel good, you want to talk. And I got excited about it, because we need each other in this work, right now. We got him hit him at every level. And you being a part of the training, you got a sense of what we do, and we really teach and organizing.
Yeah.
And you're already doing it, and hopefully this will strengthen your work in a humanistic way. And we really need this here. And y'all got a real good secret that the world got to know about. Yeah, and not just the one give you that Emmy and all that stuff. That is good. But the community ought to be given one generally, but they need to know the level of what you're doing. And I know y'all get the word out, but sometimes we don't always understand. We just think it's just another media thing, but to me, y'all got something more going on. And I'm glad I came. I'm glad, again, you never know totally what you're coming to, but I'm glad I got here and want to be invited back too.
You're invited anytime. This is your
no.
home. Anytime you are in town, they will let me know. The family will make sure that we bring you back because we have so much more to discuss. But I want to give you a second to make sure folks know how to connect with the People's Institute. Maybe this is their first time hearing about the Undoing Institutionalized Racism training. Maybe they have a group or a corporation or somebody that needs this training. I want to make sure you can look right there in the camera closest to me and let them know how to connect with the People's Institute.
Well, I'm going to ask my colleagues to give the websites who's working with me right now, get the website. But if you're interested in really being exposed to the training, is that we located in our bases in New Orleans, Louisiana, but we have an office up here in Seattle, and Brother Kente, Sister Mary Flowers, and we also have an office in Atlanta. And the Sister Nicole can let people know about that. But if you're really trying to work with your organization, your church group, your community group, your coalition, because many people have coalitions, but don't know how to coalesce with each other. And if you got a coalition or any kind of a network, we would suggest that you come to the Undoing Racism training, because we don't care any kind of movement if you're trying to make any real changes, we're telling you right now, all of the isms getting away. We don't care if it's sexism, classism, all of them getting away. But you got to understand racism, and we can give some assistance in helping you really look at that, because the undoing racism, we're not getting mad at nobody else out there. We got to get our lens so much clearer, do what we're doing. we're based in New Orleans, and can we get the website? The website. They'll give it to you. They'll give
peaceab.org. PISAB.org. PISAB.org. There we go.
That's good.
Make sure you guys tune in. And Baba Ron, thank you so much again for everything, for pouring into all of us. I am just so honored. And thank you so much for shedding light. Curtis, you heard him. We're organizers, bro. That's what we're out here doing.
Straight up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Straight
So
up.
that
Thank
means
you.
the world. Thank you. Oh my goodness, you guys, I get to wrap up this phenomenal episode right after this short break. I'm trying to keep it together, y'all, because that was just beautiful. You guys stay tuned right after this. You're watching The Day with Trae.
A world of wonder awaits at Pacific Northwest Ballet's The Nutcracker. Treat your loved ones to the Northwest's favorite holiday tradition at Seattle Center's McCall Hall. Tickets start at $27. Visit pnb.org.
COVID-19 hurt my income, my health, and my family. We were about to lose our home when we heard we might be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. We called 1-877-894-HOME, and a housing counselor stepped in, talked to our lender, and saved our home. Federal funding details at washingtonhaf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. I cannot thank my guest, Baba Ron Chisom, enough for being here, giving us some real history, deep history on the beginnings and the origin of the People's Institute, but also how their work has permeated the world. And y'all know, for me, it was beyond inspiring to just sit here and hear the wisdom of all of his years of pouring into community, of working alongside communities to really develop organizers out there. We need more of y'all. So you guys know, I'm going to tell you right now to be inspired to see yourself as a part of the solution. As he said, he came from a nonprofit background and just realized as much work as they were doing in the community, there was always something that was coming into it to disorganize everything that they were doing. So he's really, really worked hard alongside so many amazing organizers. Y'all heard him say, Brother Kente Perry, he is doing it big. Sister Mary Flowers, two of our pillars in our community here. But there are so many all across the world who understand the value, not only of the training, but of the transition in mindset, the awakening of their own understanding so that they can be in their communities in a deeper way. I really hope that all of y'all were inspired by this to see yourself as a part of the solution. I can't thank him enough. I've been changed by this interview right here, and I can't wait to have him back again. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I so appreciate y'all watching and pouring into this platform. And y'all heard it from Baba Ron himself. We are organizing here. We are doing the work by elevating our stories and being the way that we are unapologetically. I thank all of you guys for supporting us, for loving on us, for giving us all of the energy that we need to continue doing our organizing work right here at Converge Media, and for me on The Day with Trae. Y'all know y'all see me tomorrow. And until then, at 11 a.m., peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.